Right, hello everybody. My name is Chris Walshaw, and I'm going to be talking today in this series of videos about programming foundations. So that's the whole module, but today we're talking about an introduction to Python. Okay, so there's a number of videos on this topic, and what they're going to cover is what is programming, so the languages and the syntax and maybe some of the problems you might run into. What is Python, how we install it, and a development environment called idle and the Python shell. We'll do a very simple example, a couple of very simple examples using the Python shell, and then get on to actually writing one very simple program, and then look at some other examples. And finally, we'll actually build some stuff using a package called Turtle Graphics, and that will allow us to make simple drawings using Python. Okay, if you want to get a book to read along whilst you're working on this on programming foundations, there's a number you could try. There's a whole bunch of them. One I recommend is a Python Crash Course by Eric Mathers. That's a very good book. Or you could get Think Python by Alan Downey. That's also got a free PDF you can download. Or a Concise Introduction to Programming in Python by Mark Johnson. Any of those three are good introductions, and all of them go way beyond what we're going to cover in this course. But you don't need them. It's just if you think you want something else to read and some more examples to look at. Okay, so what is computer programming? Well, it's the science and sometimes the art, because sometimes it can be quite creative. It's the science and art of writing computer programs. And notice straight away in that first sentence the confusing and illogical spelling. So if you're studying for a degree, you study a degree program, spelled with two M's, or you might watch a TV program in the evenings. But when you write your program, it's spelled with one M. But when you're doing that, you're doing computer programming spelled with two M's. So very illogical, but that's just the way the language has developed. So what is a computer program? Well, it's just a set of instructions that tell a computer what to do. It can be quite complicated, it can be very simple. Everything a computer does is controlled by a program of some kind or another. You've probably met loads of programmers in your lifetime. You may not have realized you were using programs, but you certainly were. So for example, if you've looked at web pages, which everyone has, and you're using something like Chrome or Safari or Edge, then you're using a program. That's a program that helps you view web pages. If you're writing documents, like Word, using Word, or in PowerPoint, like I am using now, that's done in a program that's to write documents. If you play video games, that's done using a computer program. And if you want to think of a very simple program, something like a cash machine where you're getting money out of the wall, that's also controlled by a computer program. So they can do lots and lots of things. Sometimes we call computer programs code, and therefore sometimes we call programming coding. Those words can be used interchangeably. And programs are always written in a specific programming language. Okay, so what's a programming language? Well, it's a type of written language. It's always written at the moment. There may be times in the future where we tell the computer what to do by speaking, but at the moment all the programming languages are written, and we tell the computer what to do. There's lots of different variants of programming languages. So you may have heard of Java or JavaScript, C, C++, C#. You may have done some Visual Basic, you may have done some Python, and Python is the one we're going to be focusing on in this course. However, the idea behind the course is really to teach you the foundations of programming. Although we'll use Python to do that, in principle, the concepts that we're going to cover are transferable to any programming language. So pretty much any of those you could do these same ideas in. It's just that when you do that, the syntax and the keywords and the grammar might be slightly different. So each language has its own keyword and syntax, grammar, and that's what distinguishes one language from another. So, in fact, there's a whole bunch of languages that look very similar. Things like Java and JavaScript, they all came from a language called C, and that also developed into C++ and C#. whole bunch of languages. If you see languages with curly brackets or with semicolons at the end of the line, that's probably one of those languages. Python actually is a newer language than C, and it's therefore a bit cleaner. So it's actually it's a very nice, clean language. There's not so much punctuation around in our programs. Okay, what is that syntax apart from this punctuation? Well, the syntax in general is the arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences. So that I'm talking about English or French. That's the kind of what syntax means. But in terms of our programming, it's the structure of the statements that we put and how we put them together. However, when we're speaking English, English is very flexible. So I can say in English the syntax is fairly flexible, or I can say the syntax is fairly flexible in English, or I can say the syntax in English is fairly flexible. All of those things mean exactly the same thing, they're just in a different order. I could even say in the English syntax is flexible fairly, and I think most people would know what I meant. It's just not quite the right order. Okay, so the syntax there is wrong, but most English speakers would understand what I'm trying to say. Sadly, that isn't true of computers. So in programming, and this is where beginners sometimes come unstuck, if you get it wrong, if you get the order wrong, the computer won't know what you mean. And sometimes that's true in English, actually. If I say this sentence, it's exactly the same words as above. Computer, get, if, it, no, mean, the what, won't, wrong you. But I think you can see that that's now so garbled that it's very difficult to understand. Okay, this very strict syntax that computers insist on is why sometimes beginners find programming a bit hard, because they get the words in the wrong order, or sometimes they misspell them. The good news is, though, that we've got a whole load of tools that will help us to check the syntax, make sure we got it right, and help us to suggest corrections if we got it wrong. Okay, that's the end of the first video. Coming up next, we'll talk about what is Python.